So I'm trying to get going with the Herald again. All the messing about with the engines kind of thrown me off a bit. But I've got some options to explore, and what I'm going to try and do now is make sure that the bodywork is properly kind of buttoned up. I've got a new sill and a new old sill to kind of check fit, and the bulkhead I've got to put the mounting for the accelerator pedal in, the floor mount, and get the paint cleaned off, just to make sure that there's nothing extra wrong, and also because then it's ready when hopefully the painter is able to take it. So I'm going to deal with some of this mess and then get on with that. So I've done a couple of little jobs. Drilled out the holes along the rear of the passenger side floor pan for the rear sort of body mount section, and the drain hole in the new driver's floor pan. Then I've been getting on doing the job I've been avoiding and stripping the paint off. Now the reason I've gone perhaps overkill on removing what was on the floor pan, because obviously nobody's going to see it, is there were some little spots of rust coming through, probably just because it got wet early in its life. When I first had it fitted, I had the old cardboard gearbox tunnel, and it really it let water in. But it was a good idea because there's a couple of little dents, divots where it was a bit of rust that wouldn't need dealing with if we hadn't stripped it off now. So I'm using a mix of an angle grinder and this stripping wheel. These ones that I'm using on the die grinder, they're really, really good. They were just cheap eBay, whatever, no brand stuff, but they're lasting really quite well compared with the ones you get. I put one on an angle grinder and it disappears within about 30 seconds. The only issue is I can't run it constantly. My compressor, even though it's pretty decent, just won't quite keep up with the speed this needs to, because of the large diameter of the disc. But otherwise, it's going pretty well. Well, I spent all day and got very filthy doing the front there of the passenger side bulkhead, the floor, inside floor, some bits of this side. Yeah, it took quite a while. Nothing was very effective. So I've gone and found some stripper for this side, which is proving easier. So I think I'll continue with that tomorrow. Also experimented a bit with using a heat gun. I was a bit worried about putting quite a lot of heat into that panel. So getting there. Yeah, to be continued. So I've been working on the rather long job of getting all the paint off the bulkhead. I've actually run out of pretty much all wire wheels and similar, so I'm having to wait for more to come. And in the meantime, I've got a sill to try and fit, and I need to go in the corner here to fit something that will hold the accelerator pen, which originally would have been a little rectangular plate with some captive nuts on, so I'm going to get one of those and put on the floor. So the first thing to do is just get the chassis, get the bulkhead bolted down, so it's in the right place, and then have a look at the sill. So I've got the body bolted down, just having a try of a fit of the sill. So this one's a new one. I mean, from the labels, it looks like it's a bust up. Would be my guess. And it looks okay at the front. But at the back, this end won't really go under the body without. It's going to need some modification there to actually make it fit under the back there. But overall, it's not terrible. It's doable. The other side's a bit more awkward because this bit of the body has been repaired up here, so there's not enough metal to get the sill in place. And the on for the other side is actually an original Triumph one, so we can be relatively confident the body's wrong, which means I'm going to need to do a bit of metal work on the other side of the car. But I'm going to go for the slightly easier job now and stick my head in this footwell and get a accelerator. Alright, so I got my little reinforcement plate made up. I'm going to get these nuts welded on the bottom, then get some holes drilled in the floor pan. I'm basing the position both off of this old floor that came off the car and some photos online, so it's going to be roughly 6 centimeters in from the edge and then 5 centimeters down from the leading edge. And well, that actually makes it sit well, that actually means it ends up sitting in the car is so that the kind of the bolts are almost either side of where this channel would be, so it's sort of this position, and which then lends the kind of the front of the pedals, it's just behind this ridge, so it might not be super exactly originally accurate, but that sort of makes sense to me and matches what I can see of some of the original photos. So if the pedal's going to end up there on the floor, you can see with the kind of base of it just in front of the ridge of the floor pan. Then the holes are going to end up being, that's, well, on the lip of my floor. If I lay the flat against the floor, as far as the ruler will go, it's about 4 centimeters. And in that direction, again doing the same thing, it's about 6 centimeters in. Which matches up with what I had before, which obviously wasn't original, but I mean the positioning seems about right, and that little plate will fit, not foul on the pressing. So I would say that puts the accelerator and the brake a little bit close together. Now if we compare with this photograph of an original floor plan, I don't think I'm all that far off. However, I think it's going to be sensible to move this so that the bracket is on the edge of this pressing, because we've got that sort of separation, brake and clutch, and then not. I mean, we're not going to get to the same It's not the case of where I should have taken a picture of what it looked like before. So that's now moved over a little bit, and you can see, just see this copper wire here as well. That's passing through the hole for the accelerator cable that's in the bulkhead. So you can see that's actually now a straight drop from the bulkhead to the accelerator pedal. So that's kind of making me feel that this is where it should be. That puts it just, let me see, we can't see. So obviously my floor pan could be not exactly matching where the original pressings might have been, but that puts this edge of this bracket right up against this channel, so it couldn't go any further outboard. I had to take a little bit off the edge of the little plate with the nuts on. That's okay. And what the holes I already drilled are going to do for me is the pre-drilled plug weld holes. So yeah, I will get that all primed and welded on. Well, there's those captive nuts for the accelerator pedal in and ground down. They actually would have been, according to the parts catalogue, originally the sort of Acme type screws rather than bolts or set screws. I'm not particularly bothered. I am going to get the pedals hung back in one last time, because then I can call this done and ready for paint. But I do want to double check that it's going to be sensible. Yeah, I think we can call that good. Okay, so got to move on to something else. I might have a quick go at seeing how the sill fits, or how we can improve the sill fit. I think it was going to be okay modifying something at this end of the sill, just so the lip's a little bit further towards the inside of the car, and it can kind of get round underneath here. Alright, so let's have a look at this sill. As before, it will just about go, but it's catching about here. So this little indent needs to be somewhat larger, and it looks narrow actually. So what I need to do is just figure out where to cut it. So like right along the bend would be easiest in terms of being able to manipulate the metal a little bit further back, but it's probably going to be more difficult to kind of finish up again. And I think I'm going to go try kind of along that sort of top of the sill section. Okay, so that sill piece has proved to be really awkward to manipulate and therefore film, but you can see what I've done there. I did consider maybe I could have done this with a hammer. I could barely hold it on the bench to do this, so maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to hang this on and then see if this helps, and if so, hopefully we'll be able to get it tacked in. Okay, so where have we got to? There's a certain amount, I think, still of this tread plate being a bit higher, or perhaps the repair to this rear wing being a bit lower than it should be. Because when I test fitted the sill that was on the car, that was also proving problematic, and we can see, for example, here. You can see here that the screws here that were in there were clearly pulling down into the metal of the tread plate. So I think this is mostly probably close. When I push it in, so as it would be held by the little tabs on the chassis, this gap opens up. So I think what I need to do, I can look in here and I can see that the sill is fouling on the inside of the wing, or the little lip in the inside of the wing, so I'm either going to clean out whatever stuff's in there or take the edge off of that bit of metal. I also might sort of bend this a bit more, so it kind of gives a bit more of a tilt to like pull this up a little bit. And then I may consider, as on the other side, actually adding a bit of metal to the tread plate just to let the sill hold on a bit better. But I don't know. I'm actually leaving this bit for the moment. I've got to see if I need to get the engine back out of the boot of my modern car. I actually need to use the modern car. So I'm going to get back to this in the near future. But I think I've got a plan. So you'll see I got this little bit of flange pushed back towards the direction inside, on the inside of the car a little bit. So we've got a bit of a gap here to fill up. And that got it to the point of fitting. I also kind of massaged down this end of the sill, so we've got a bit of a dip here to allow this to come a bit further up, as well as bashing down the old screw hole from the previous sill, just to kind of let this move a little bit further up. And I got it to the point of it'll be acceptable. Yeah, so I'm not sure if we can blame the sill for being a funny shape or the car for being a funny shape, or possibly both. But I'm going to get this welded up, use a bit of brass backer to help me fill in this hole, and then whatever's next. So that's welded. Needs grinding obviously, but I'm not gonna charge the compressor tonight, just do that a little tiny bit. I think logically I should do the other sill, because then that really does leave me with no more bodywork to do for the time being. But to do that I will need to move some stuff from under the car and get it down off stands and shuffle it over. I was kind of leaving it on stands because I was hoping to be able to pop the engine back in. Obviously that's not, it's not an option. So yeah, best do that, best get the car turned around, because I don't want to, I want it to be done with as much kind of welding, grinding and so on as possible before taking the engine apart, because obviously I don't want to get the, they'll need to be cleaned and so on and so forth, and the machine shop will need to check, but I would prefer not to also get them covered in grinding dust. Okay, so I got the car shuffled over so I can get to the passenger side. I've got the replacement sill over there, just giving it a bit of a clean down. It's an original Triumph one, and it's been wax oiled or covered in oil or something in the past to try and stop it rusting. So there's oil patches it's going to need a strip down. This is the one that was on there, which is not bad, really, but as I've got a real one, I'm going to put it on. Actually looking at it, it's quite distorted there. Yeah, so if we look down the bottom of the sill, you can see this one should be straight. Looks like it's been bashed, or that one of the tags has been done up too tightly or something in the past. I hope this catches it. On this is the new driver's side one, where you should be able to see it. Oh, it's not actually. Maybe it's not quite as pronounced as on this original one, which I'm trying to... Let's try and do it this way. So, you can see with the sill flat on the floor, it's not a straight line along the bottom, there's a double curve. Now, I thought that wasn't present on modern pressings, but you can see the new right hand side one actually does have it. I mean, maybe it's not exactly the same, but it does have the shape. Oh, that's interesting. It's definitely not present on the one we are replacing. Anyway, this the sill that's coming off has been somewhat abused to get it to fit. So this is quite bent, this flange, and there's a lot of sealant or filler ended up in this gap here, and the same, you can see filler along this edge too. I think part of that, at least, is because this edge of this tread plate and the bottom of the sill are not really in the right line. So I didn't really want to touch the rear body, but I think the best thing to do here is going to be to add a tiny strip of metal along the edge of this tread plate. And that's going to give the sill something to bolt into, or that's going to give the sill something to screw into properly. Or maybe actually let's get the sill fitted to the bottom of the wing and up at the front, and then see if that's needed. I think it probably is, but we'll see how far along we need to go with it. So you can see with the door on, if that just goes up to where it hits the rear wing, there's quite some space there. So I think I've got two things to do. One is this front edge of the bulkhead looks a bit bent down, so it's not letting the sill come up as far as it wants. And the other is, I'm going to say this wing is probably wrong. In fact, we know it is because this sill is a straight edge, straight all along the bottom of the door. Close enough. And then it dips down at the end. So then the other thing is going to have to be kind of moving this fold so it's at a slight angle so it actually matches the rear wing. Okay, so you will have seen me there also trying the old sill, and it's as bad. Yeah, it doesn't give you a really very close gap underneath the door, and I think we're just gonna go for parity. The point of this car is to be a good driver, so having a perfect gap under the door is not, I don't care, basically, and I can't say I've ever really looked at it before and gone, oh well, that's really large. But then really I didn't, it's only since building the Spitfire that I've really started to look at things like panel gaps and so on and so forth, just because having to actually put the whole thing together and check everything fits, it's kind of taught my eyes to see these things. But anyway, I've cut away a little bit at the front, so the front of the sill can go a little bit further up, and I'm going to do, as I said, towards the back of the sill, I'm going to crease, move the bend in the edge of the top edge of the sill just a little bit, so we can push it up against the bottom of this wing. So I'm going to try and use this bit of angle as my kind of dolly. Set the sill on here and just take a millimetre or so off the edge of the bend. still sitting acceptably. I'd say the gap, back gap from the bottom of the door to the sill is still a little large. But I think again this is the perhaps the door skin not being quite right, because you can see the door's in a reasonable position at the top in terms of the body line lining up there, and here, but it doesn't meet the bottom of the wing. This is going to sit a little bit further up when it gets pulled in, but it's looking alright. So that was, I had to take, sort of bend down the rear, kind of rear edge to kind of bring the rear up, so we've got less of a gap, kind of the front edge of the wing, leading edge of the wing. I then had to take a little bit of metal off to allow the sill to go inwards so it wouldn't poke out. At the front, kind of gave this a bit of a bash to raise it up somewhat, and had a trim of this lip, and then correspondingly on the sill I've actually taken a little bit off under there just to let it pull up a little bit. If we have a look here, the sill, I mean the tread plate is nowhere near, so I'm going to add a little bit of metal, which is, I guess, nominally wrong, but you know, we're never going to get these screws in otherwise. Okay, so that's tacked in place. I'm going to let it cool before going at it again. I just want to. I'm brush painting over this. I'm not. I don't want to get into any more paint. So I just want to keep the heat down. Don't want to do any more than I absolutely have to. Obviously, when this is done, I'm going to trim along. So we've got from this point kind of a straight line, which is obviously going to make the tread plate a bit thicker. You know, tread plate is going to end up a wedge shape, but it'll mean the sill can be screwed on with less hassle. So while that's cooling down, I'm going to get the sill on the bench and sort of fill in some bits where I've had to cut away and made the holes for the spy clips. Take the top off them, so I'll fill those in, grind them down, drill more holes. Okay, so that's all welded, filled in the hole at the front there, because having manipulated this a little bit, it needs to go in a different place. I've got the bits to the sill whip. Forgot that. Okay, so I need to get a little bit of welding there. And that one's done. So some grinding to be getting on with. there we are. This sill is fitted. I think this is one of those, wherever the problem really was, it's so many repairs ago that whatever, we've made it work. So with that, we've got sills on both sides, the accelerator pedal mount done in the driver's footwell. Obviously a little bit repair to, or extension to the existing body, or the rear body. And that should do us for metalwork, I'm sure. I keep saying that. Everyone keeps saying that. But that's where I'm going to finish this one. And next I'm probably going to be looking inside of the engine, because I've spoken to a machine shop and they can do something about the kind of custom thrust washer, and providing, depending on how it's all is when they inspect it, but they need a stripped block and crankshaft to do so. So I am going to have to take it apart. But that'll be next time. So thanks for watching. See you later.